Dodging and burning is a technique that comes from the darkroom days, and it is a very, very simple way of making different parts of images pop out, and it is an invaluable technique for landscape photography. So when you dodge something, it's where with an enlarger you would block the light reaching a certain part of the image to make it lighter, and burning in you would block out most of the image, maybe using your hands, and just allow light to reach a specific part to make it darker. Now, the tools in Photoshop are really, really intelligent, and they can target the highlights, the midtones, and the shadows. And there's also the sponge tool that allows you to control saturation, because when you dodge, you typically knock out some of the saturation in that part of the image, and conversely, when you burn in, you increase the saturation of that part of the image. So the best way to work with the dodging and burning tools is to create a copy of the background layer, and you can do that by pressing Ctrl and J or Command and J on a Mac, and that will give us a layer that we can work on. And it's better to do it this way because it's non-destructive editing, so if you make a mistake or you're unhappy with any part of the work that you've done, you can simply delete that layer and start again. You haven't changed any of the underlying pixels. So to access the dodging and burning tools, you can just press O on the keyboard or click on the icons here. So we currently have the burn tool selected, and I'm going to go with that. I'm going to change the range to the highlights, and it's always best to work with exposure set to between 5 and 10 because it's better to paint in slowly rather than have a really high setting where it just goes wrong straight away. And you can control the brush size and hardness here. It's typically best to leave hardness at 0, or you can just use the left and right square bracket keys to change the brush size. So I'm just going to very lightly paint over the water here just to darken it, and you'll see we've just taken the bright edge off. It's probably gone a bit too grey here, so I'm going to press Ctrl and Z and then just give that a very quick pass just to dull it off ever so slightly. So now let's move on to the midtone. So I'm going to leave it set to 5%, and I'm just going to darken this area here slightly, because what I'm going to do here is relight this area how I would like it to be. So that's looking good. And now I'm just going to change to the shadows because I would like to darken this area at the back just to make the waterfall in the background pop out a bit more. So you'll see there we've done a small amount of darkening here and there, but now I'm going to move on to the dodge tool. So I'm going to hold down Shift and press O so I can scroll through, and there I have the dodge tool. So I'm going to leave it set to midtones for now, and I'm just going to have a quick pass over everything. Most of what I'm lightening here is actually in the shadow region, but I just want to make sure that I catch any midtones that may be in there. So you see it's just lightened it slightly. So what I'm going to do now is change the range to shadows and then just run that over these areas again. And we can have a quick look at the before and after. So you'll see that the rocks here and over here are really starting to pop out. I think I'm just going to lighten this branch here, but I'm going to go for the midtones just to make the moss here kind of pop out and just accentuate that highlight, and then work on this moss here. So there we have all of our dodging and burning work done. Now what we can do is just have a quick look at the saturation. So I'm going to select the sponge tool. It's currently set to saturate, so for that I'm just going to go over the areas that I dodged because I know that the saturation will have dropped in those areas. And then if we change it to desaturate, because I burnt in over here, the saturation will have increased slightly. So I'm not going to go over too much, just a very quick pass of everything. So there we have the image kind of popping out a bit more. It's a bit dark in the foreground and lighter in the background, but I've kind of evened that off. This area is darker than I would like it to be. So what I'm going to do is create a layer mask, which is now attached to that layer. and with black in the foreground. If you have other colours in there, just hit D on the keyboard and then you can toggle between the two by pressing X. So I'm just going to switch to the brush tool and increase the size, and let's just make sure that hardness is set to 0, and then I'm just going to click once on those two areas there, and I'm just going to bring the light back down in the center here just so it looks like there's a shaft of light. So I haven't done anything massively dramatic here, but I've just evened off the lighting, made the foreground pop more, and then made sure that the saturation is correct throughout the image. It is such a useful set of tools to use for landscape photography, and is a great way to both relight your images and to accentuate different parts of the scene.